Are we good?
Wait, we're here. Oh, finally.
Oh,
Oh,
dude.
my
Oh
poor
my god.
mouth. It's been so long. It's been so long.
Did we do it? Did we clickbait everyone? Are they in? Hello,
I
guys?
think we did it.
Okay.
Team,
Oh,
twitch.tv/path2lcs, are you there? Hello?
we are here.
Yes.
We successfully baited everybody into arriving. We did it, everybody! Welcome to the stream. We got day number 2 of week number 2 of the Proving Grounds Circuit Qualifier number 2 group stage. We got 2s all around here, Rude. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. I'm in the UK. I am absolutely boiling. It has been heatwave central, and I'm, just ready to digest some great League of Legends, get some more stuff through my system. It's going to be a water-intensive cast, that's for sure. So if we hear some nice ASMR water chugging, that's me on my end.
I mean, there was a reason. It's not all clickbait, you know? Like, it's, to have a clickbait successful, you need to have a little bit of substance at least. And I think we got a little bit more than a little substance. We've got some really good games. We got playoff implications and qualification for Proving Grounds implications on the line with the 2 best of 3s that we have today, starting off with Maryville University versus Evil Genius's Prodigies. But to take a bit of a recap to see where we are standing at the moment, let's take a look at some of the games that we are having today on both this stream and on twitch.tv/academy here. Take a look at the bracket first. This happened yesterday in groups A and B. Unfortunately, did have 2 drops here due to Jake's Kittens and No Org not being present, but still got some bangers nonetheless. Large, unfortunately, were not up to size. They fell to Taco Gaming, and AoE Esports are on to the quarterfinals as well.
Yes, up against like we say, up against a team to yet be determined, but worth noting that Tempest Gaming versus Team Pending have their own sort of bracket tiebreaker on Monday next week. They're going to be going head to head to see who it is that goes on to the top 8 and who, unfortunately, goes home. There are some PG implications, of course, for that game too, but to keep your eyes on Group A at the very least, since Group B has already resolved itself.
Yeah, it will just be Taco Gaming and 100 Thieves next. Moving on. Unfortunate that Nohorg didn't really get that rematch against TG because I was really looking forward to seeing those 2 teams face off again after me and you, Rude, were able to cover that series last week. And let's take a look at the games that are happening today, starting with the brackets of Group C and D. On the Path to LCS stream here, we will be covering Group D. That is EGP, DK Crew, Maryville, and Supernova. And on the other stream of twitch.tv/academy, we got Group C. Rude, these are some really exciting games as well. I think Cincinnati Fear versus AoE GT is a little bit closer than it might just look on paper, you know?
I certainly think so. That one of my favourite takes so far, and I have to credit Smacks for this one, was that on a good day, AoE Ginger Turmeric are top 1. On a bad day, they're bottom 16. The volatility of that team for me really is just incredible. But Cincinnati Fear as well, I think, have been a much more consistent, much more stable set of players so far, especially since they've really made their stamp from PTCQ 1 to 2. And like you say, it is going to be very close, and I think that both of our top-end bracket games are, to be honest.
Yeah, these are the 2 groups that have all the 4 teams still competing, which means that we get a whole lot of action today on both of the streams. Make sure to go over to twitch.tv/academy if you're not there already, at least on a second monitor if you just want to listen to us, to watch these 2 series. The CLG Faith versus Randoms series also has very heavy implications for who makes Proving Grounds, but we got the matchups that we have on our stream to talk about, Rooted. Starting off with EGP versus Maryville, which I feel like is a matchup that we have seen time and time again in the past couple of years because these teams are always towards the top of the amateur echelon.
Yeah, and they have been really since the amateurs' real inception, how well it's been sort of birthed, and traditionally with these 2 teams looking very, very strong. Matchups against one another are bound to happen. Nice to see them going head-to-head once more. They have got this winner goes to top 8, loser has to play a third game, excuse me, in the group situation going on, and obviously both of these 2 teams are going to be vying for that top 6 spot to make sure that they get themselves automatic qualification to the upper bracket of Proving Grounds when that comes around after PGCQ2 and after Academy as well. So getting a win here on the board not only gives you a nice set of points, but also puts you with just a little bit more confidence going through the rest of the tournament as well, that you topped out of your group as opposed to have to take that lower bracket run.
Yeah, and I believe while we were looking at some of the circuit qualifier points, shout out to Collimer for the very helpful spreadsheet. I think both Maryville and EGP are both, again, locked into that top 10 spot. But as you were mentioning earlier, this is not just the end of it. You need to go and keep fighting, keep trying to go for that top 6, because when you take a look at these two teams here, one of them made top 6, that was EGP. The other one made top 10, which was Maryville, and they had very separate and different roads to how PG ended up working out to them. Maryville had to play against TSM Academy in a very do-or-die best-of-3, while EGP actually managed to get farther into the bracket because they had that extra loss to work with.
Yeah, Maryville are actually one of the few teams to take games away from academy teams, if I'm remembering all the way back correctly. Even if not, it was a incredibly close series. Regardless, they definitely showed that they can be at that academy level, and having spoken a little bit to Jensen, I'll get into that a bit later on, he wants the Maryville University team to be at the same level, considered equal to the academy teams, and that comes from besting them in the in proving grounds. He is aware that currently the results haven't shown that, but that's obviously the goal, and that's something that they are working towards.
Yeah, I mean, that's collegiate's over, so now they just have all the time in the world to focus in on proving grounds and focus on getting these players to the next stage of play. But on the other side for EGP, development has been a very crucial part for them as well. As we take a look at the rosters here for both of these teams, of course, Maryville, tons of experience down the line, but EGP have a ton of new young names that are looking and pushing to get into academy.
Yeah, Mia and Yukino, those two up-and-comers that we haven't particularly seen too much from in the Proving Grounds circuit qualifiers just yet. Obviously, Faisal is still fairly new to it all as well. Started out at the beginning of this year with a very good stint for EGP to begin with. Is one of the only returning members from spring to summer. Returning member from spring to summer. So for Faisal in that top lane, I think that as well as that, the meta really favors him right now. We've seen numerous Olafs for him in that top side, a champion that has really changed up, and it's certainly a champion that is making its presence felt in that top lane, up against a Niles and a Maryville who have currently started to defer a little bit to a weak side Niles strategy, relying on Azog and Zyko to really carry them through the bot lane.
Yeah, Azog and Zyko had a brilliant series against Supernova last week. Azog ended up getting a pentakill in game number 1 on the Callista, and Zyko with crucial engages on the Amumu through and through were definitely really big pieces, especially considering that Maryville is typically known as that topside focused team. You think back to 2020 when Niles and Iconic were still on the roster, they almost always played through Niles, but of course with both these players coming back from higher levels of play in LCS and Academy, having learned a whole lot more, this team ends up being a whole lot more flexible, and it becomes a lot more dangerous to try to strategize against.
And I think that is the interesting part, that we see Iconic come back and they don't just defer straight back to this Renekton Elise dive top at level 3 style of duo. And it speaks to the evolution of the players that we've seen in the last 2 years as well. And I think that Maryville as well, just recognizing that right now bot lane in the meta is just so important. We have got so many picks that are really dominating the meta, things like Seraphine, Zeri, Lucian as well in his own right. There are plenty of champions that are really making their statement, making their mark down in the bot lane. And with Maryville shifting a little bit more down toward this bot side, there's no surprises that we get to see a lot more from Azog and Zyko.
Yeah, and going up against them will be Mia and Donbray. I was talking on stream yesterday about how this matchup kind of will unfold, and I really couldn't focus on any of the lanes, because of course it's Faisal versus Niles in the top lane, it's APA versus Doxa in the mid lane, and down bottom is Mia and Donbray up against Azog and Zyko. I feel like all these lanes are super competitive and super explosive, but I think we wanted to talk about the bot lane here for EGP a little bit here, Rooted, because they have been really good at times, but they just need to maybe take that extra step to regain a whole lot of consistency if they want to get into that top 6, get into potentially making a big run at Proving Grounds.
Yeah, I think that certainly should be the goal. And for Donbray coming in, he's had a lot of experience across the amateur scene, played on the TSM amateur roster when that existed, when that was a thing. But Mia, like we mentioned at the top of the show, a rookie to the Proving Ground space. This is her first split in competitive amateur League of Legends, and doing very well, like you said, down in that bot lane. We are seeing some of those consistency issues riddle a little bit of her gameplay, and I think that potentially comes from just having that experience and having that next level and having more experience with that time comes. Certainly an ADC, a prospect to keep our eyes on with time going forward and the development that we can see from them.
Yeah, and it's not just with Mia, it's with all the players here for the side of EGP. That's the big goal, again, development. And because in the first split, the first tournament at least, EGP which was a roster that was really highly touted and maybe even considered to be top 4, even top 2 in terms of where they may be expected to be placed throughout that tournament, you know, they didn't end up getting the result that they wanted. They ended up dropping to TBA in the quarterfinals, and so getting a really good performance here is going to be really important for them. They want that spot in the quarterfinals right here and right now. But I mean, we've done a lot of analysis ourselves, Rude. Let's take a look at what all of our other friends have to say about this series, as well as we take a look at the caster predictions for today. A lot of us are still perfect right now. 9 is the echelon to have that perfect mark, because those are the amount of games that have been played today. I mean, I'm currently at the top right now. This is a very new feeling for me. I have never been here before. Right now, we have a couple of deviations, actually, both on this stream, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see, who ends up on top after this one,
Yeah, I mean, either you're going to be 3 points up or I'm going to be 1 point up. So that, that's to see at the very
One of us
least.
will win either way, it's not like ending in a tie or anything like that. One of us will be the superior caster at the end of the matches today.
By
it's going to be me, of course.
Okay, buddy. Let's see. We'll see. Already calling me out for the weak prediction from yesterday. I think that my loss prediction was AoE versus AoE versus the team that let me down. That's what that game was.
Doesn't even matter to them anymore. Yeah,
no, exactly.
They don't even exist in our sphere.
Remove me for a very good reason. You lose a game that I predicted you to win in, and it's bad news.
Just get Thanos snapped out of your mind.
True.
Out of sight, out of mind.
EGP, no pressure. DK crew, no pressure.
Yeah, we'll get more about who gets Thanos snapped as we go into the next series of the day, which I think will have a lot of serious implications for here. But I think we are, still waiting a bit before the draft for this first game begins. We do know, though, that EGP have opted over to blue side, Maryville staying on the red side, which I think, Rude, kind of focuses a little bit more towards what we were talking about before we got on stream, which was how these two teams like to play. Maryville, of course, with that very early aggressive playstyle, where EGP, especially in their last series against DK Crew, opted towards a lot of scaling.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that in at least game 1 up against DK Crew, they did get their hands on a lot of scaling tools, so it was no surprise to see them default back to that standard. With the Udyr, Seraphine, and Zeri all being picked up on the same blue side game, they were more than happy to sit back, relax, take their farm, and move their way into the late game with a fair amount of power and a fair amount of pride, moving their win on the board. So the late game scaling aspect for EGP does exist. We have obviously, like we mentioned, seen Faisal play things like the Olaf, which warrants a certain amount of topside priority and topside control. Early game power in that same vein. There are plenty of tools to EGP. I do think they are quite versatile in terms of what they can do, but from what we've seen from them, at least from last week, that late game was something that they felt very comfortable in.
Yeah, and I think part of it was probably just the way that DK Crew drafted into it as well, and just being able to lock in Udyr and Seraphine 2 games in a row. I mean, no offense to DK Crew, but I feel like that's not really something that's supposed to be happening here in this current meta of League of Legends. So, that's for the strategy that they ran with, and that's what's worked, especially here on the durability patch. It'll be interesting to see if they try to adjust. I know Jensen is, a coach that really likes to focus on early game aggression. We saw it a lot towards CLOL, where they would just constantly dive top lane, and again, we're kind of shifting that focus down to the bot side, at least for the summer split. So a lot of different options for both of these teams, which makes it very exciting to see how this best of 3 will end up.
Because it could very well go to all 3 games, and I think that for both of our games today, I expect 3 games from both of them. We're in for a long night, Grapes, if my expectations are to be met. And we've got, obviously, Maryville on the flip side of things, like you mentioned, focusing a lot toward that bot side, and if we do get a full top versus bot side for all 3 games, we could very well see different players going huge.
Yeah, we do. I'm very excited to see that. Unfortunately, we do have a slight delay with getting the players up onto the Rift. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. When we get back, it'll be Maryville versus Evil Genius's Prodigies here on the second Proving Grounds Circuit Qualifier. We'll see you in a bit. We told you it wasn't going to be that long of a wait. We're back here into the draft for game number 1. Evil Geniuses Prodigies again taking that blue side, and it goes back again. Rude. We were saying this again before we got into the draft screen, but what is EGP going to prioritize that get them into the late game, and what will Maryville prioritize to get their early leads?
And so far we've seen 2 of those picks just taken straight off the board. The Udyr taken away from Yukino, the Kalista, something that Azo got to play double dipped on last week twice with that Kalista Amumu bot lane. Taken out of contention. A lot of focus down toward this bot side for EGP. This is, you know what, we're looking very big brain right now, Grapes, because everything that we said, Maryville, we're focusing. Oh, bot lane.
We're just so smart, or maybe Maryville just looked at the draft of the last 2 games and thought, yeah, you know, Udyr and Seraphine are pretty good. Maybe we don't want to play against that. And so I think that's a good move, honestly, because the Seraphine can flex all 3 ways. Yukino looked like an absolute monster on that pick, and still a lot of really strong junglers for Iconic to, you know, try to select as we head later on into this draft.
Yeah, and I think that it's worth noting here with this Trundle ban specifically, it opens up EGP to go for potentially immobile carries actually out of their solo lanes for Doxa, for Faisal. If they want to go for something that doesn't have the most mobility, that Trundle pillar can be a real sticking point for champions like that. And notably things like the Zoe for Doxa as we get later through the draft, something that we've seen him pop off on, and something that does get gated a little bit by Trundle pillar if used effectively. But EGP make it all the way through the draft. The Zeri doesn't get banned. It was a choice made by Maryville to say you can take away the Senna or the Zeri. They take away one, and of course EGP pick up the other, but it's not without a response. It's not without Maryville saying, you know what, we're still happy to go on in. And the Amumu still is open for Zyko. Played it, like we say, last week to great success, and make this one for themselves if they fancy a good all-in 2v2.
It looks like it's a takeaway on each side. You know, Azog plays a lot of Zeri, Yukino plays a lot of Viego, so they're gonna say to each other that they're not neither of those champ players are gonna get either of those champions. Mia looked very good on the Zeri last week against DK Crew as well, so yeah, definitely a good pick for her as well. In addition to that, this is a very cool one though, Rude, because the Poppy actually functions really well into both the champions that Maryville already have set up in the draft.
Quite right. That is what we're looking at as a very good answer to the Viego and to the Tristana. If she wants to try and jump away, this is Tristana in this instance, and the steadfast presence is there, and it becomes very difficult because you get knocked up, you get grounded as well with the new Poppy rework that came through, you know, a long time ago at this point.
Long time ago.
But you still get grounded. It is worth noting it is quite difficult to get away from that, and I like this pivot immediately. You have the option with Tristana to go for a very all-in lane. Instead, opt to go for the Lulu, which gives you a lot more late game options, gives you that scaling aspect as well, because Tristana in the later stages does have the highest base range of any marksman in the game. You know, when you get to level 18, that fully stacked out passive is very, very scary, and you can indeed try and outrange that Poppy. You get Buster Shot as well. There's a fair few tools at the very least to try and stop what EGP have built up for themselves.
And can I say, Rude, that also the Tristana could be a flex pick. Of course,
yeah.
I don't have any specific memories in my head of APA pulling out the Tristana, but it's definitely something that he has played in the past and willing to maybe pick up again. And with, you know, the bot lane for EGP already figured out with the Zeri Renata, maybe there's a different response that Maryville want to try and go with here. And right now, it doesn't seem like EGP think that very much because they're still banners against APA. But again, always keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I think that the going into then this second phase with both solo laners needing to be taken off by either side, the safe enough blinds of Corki strikes me as a smart ban. I'll talk a little bit more about this Kayle if it ends up getting locked on in, but we see Camille taken so along with the Olaf. That Kayle suggests that we're expecting mid lane blind pick from APA, and then EGP opts into something very boring, very tanky on the top side. Kayle tends to be taken into things like an Ornn, like a Scion potentially, where you can try and match scaling in different aspects. So we'll have to see where Maryville go, if they are going to prioritize counter pick for Niles, or if they're going to it for APA in the mid lane. They opt to, you know, bite the bullet and go, okay, we'll just take the Gnar side of this matchup, and now we get to see if Faisal can really duel and throw down and say, I've got the Aurelia locked and loaded, one of those classic counter picks to the Gnar that we've seen. The potential is there with that not being banned away to just lock that one in.
I feel like I remember this Aurelia lock-in for Faisal sometime last year when he was on AoE, but instead it's another one of his tried but true champions in the Gangplank. Does pretty good into the Gnar, so it looks like it's just going to be pretty, you know, uneventful top lane action, at least in terms of the 1v1 for the first game of this series. So really, again, opening up this bot lane for being a huge topic of conversation especially because Maryville have been focusing so much towards it. We're going to see the final lock-in for EGP. It, of course, is Dox's Zoe. And right now, out of this composition, you see a whole lot of range and a whole lot of frontline as well from Yukino in the jungle.
Quite happy with this Zoe lock-in. Even though it's blind, even though it's, potentially a little bit scary, it opens up APA to maybe go for a Victor to just sort of match wave clear and try and push a little bit later on. Azir also open instead. Looks like they're going to opt into a lot more dive-centric position, but like you mentioned, EGP playing with a large amount of range. They've got a good stable front line in Yukino on this Poppy, and they're going to be relying largely on the poke from afar. The GP, the Zoe, the Zeri as well can also fire off an absolute boatload of damage. We've all seen the little clip of Zeri plus Corki poke coming through at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that is going to be only compounded on if you have a Zoe Sleep bubble landing on that same time.
Yeah, because the bubble goes over the wall, so does the Zeri W, so you could just bubble into the Zeri W, just like instantly one shot, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah.
We're going to keep our eye on that as we head into this game, because I think that's
scary.
A very interesting synergy combination that really doesn't have a whole lot of outplay potential if you are on Maryville's side. But the one concern I have maybe for EGP Root, and you can maybe correct me on this if you want, is that they don't have a whole lot of engage. Their main engage right now is Poppy, Renata, and both of those probably are used more as secondary engage rather than primary engage. So when it looks to trying to find fights, it might be a little bit more difficult for them than it is for Maryville.
I think you're right. They do lack some engages. I think that the composition, though, functions in a way that they're not particularly looking for engages. They're looking to kill somebody from a screen and a half away and then have an innate advantage, force Maryville to have to be the ones to engage onto them, try and kite back a little bit when they have that numbers advantage already built in. They're going to be, like you mentioned, playing from that range. They're not too keen on finding those hardcore engages unless, of course, it's a favourable situation and they can potentially use Yukino as that engagement tool. With all of the setup that a Poppy's got, even with Poppy's ulti, Queen of Disengage in her own right, with just shoving teams, enemies, however many people away at any given notice.
It's very interesting to see because honestly, when we were talking about these two teams, maybe we're expecting kind of the opposite situation for how the drafts were going to line up. EGP looked like they want to play a lot more scrappy, while Maryville are looking for that 5v5 with all of the hard crowd control that they have in their kits. But we are onto the riff. We're going to find out which of these two teams is going to make the top 8, get their spot in potentially that top 6 in the Proving Grounds event later this month.
And as to start off with, nothing too untoward. Sometimes you will see very crazy, very 5v5 focused level 1s. That is not going to be the case. This time out, just a 5-point split across both sides. And, we've already got into the game. We've talked a little bit about those stakes, about those standings. So we can hold off on that until we see some more of the games develop, play out. I want to talk a little bit about our rune choices and things that start to strike out or speak out to me a little bit. Worth noting that we do have the cleanse taken on Mia, but not Doxa. So there is a world where we see a very easy gank in that mid lane for Maryville University. They can quite easily take out Doxa without having that cleanse. Lissandra at level 6. The champion plays itself effectively. You claw forward, you land the stun from either your W or your ult, you chain the other one up in tow. And at that point, Iconic likely going to have a Sheen, going to have an absolute ton of damage to go out as well. So eyes a little bit toward this mid lane as we reach that level 6 marker as a potential point for Maryville to try and play through, because they have got some tools through the early stages with that Lissandra come the level 6 mark.
Yeah, having the TP obviously very important for Doxa, and I think while you're locking in this Lissandra for APA, the main goal is to, lock down the Zeri, which is so hard to try and shut down with that crowd control. So having a point and click on a very hyper-mobile carry will be important, which is why the cleanse was probably taken down in the bottom lane. But we are seeing opposite side clears for both of these junglers. They actually, Iconic and Yukino, opting to start for the Raptors, which means we might see some interesting shenanigans come level 3 or so. But already the poke for Maryville is starting off here. Azog getting the better of Mia in that level 1 trade.
Worth noting that Yukino does skip his golems to make his way up to that top side speedily enough, within enough time to potentially answer anything from Iconic. We'll see what his plan is, having completed those golems, whether it's to return to the full clear or whether it's to do something different. Niles hops all the way forward, doesn't end up going for a full engagement right there, but certainly flexing himself a few muscles.
We'll have that Mega Gnar form for just a little bit to remain a little bit more durable. Interesting to note, Yukino went for Red Raptors, Wolves, and then Gromp, which actually doesn't get you the level 3 off of 3 camps. You know, he's going to be a little bit maybe delayed on the clear. But it looks like it's just going to be more of a delayed full clear, sans that Krug camp being taken. So Iconic will just also opt for that full clear. So despite all the weird maybe starts that we saw, it's just going to be pretty standard early jungle pathing for both of these players.
Now we have to see what Yukino does with this time, because obviously he's cleared one less camp. Maybe that means that he matches the pacing of Iconic, just by giving the nature of Poppy's slightly slower clear relative to the Viego. Or if he tries to make a play, tries to go for a double crab, for example, make a dive play top lane, we can already see Faisal stacking that wave up. And this is going to be, you know, crashed at a very favourable time. We've just seen Niles be the Meganor. He's not going to have that for a while, and they know this dive's coming through.
Look at the massive wave. It is so large, and Yukino just waiting for the right opportunity. Faisal will take a tower shot. And here comes Doxa as well. It's going to be a 3v1. I feel like Niles is seeing this, but maybe in the opposite direction. Bit of a taste of his own medicine, potentially. There comes the sleep. The paddle star forward, and first blood into the hands of Faisal. APA gonna use the tomb over, but Yukino flashes in response. It is 2-0 EGP to start this off.
Beautiful. A play that was very telegraphed. They knew this was going to happen, did Maryville, but they can do nothing to prevent it. Simply because Iconic pathed his way down to that bot side, it means EGP are able to find 2 kills in that top lane. Doxa uses his teleport to get back to the mid lane as well, where APA uses his teleport to get up to the top lane, where he ultimately dies. 2 kills going into EGP to start off their early stages of this game very well. And as we'd mentioned, Grips, as we'd said, EGP playing to the top side, Maryville more toward that bot lane. Niles knows this is happening, right? We've just seen Poppy walking over this ward. And this isn't Niles playing poorly by any means. There's just simply nothing to do. Doxa pushes that wave all the way in, makes his way up to the top side, and the timing is just too well played. As Doxa hits this bubble, unfortunately this flash is going to do nothing for you. You can see APA tries to get in front of it, but the minions are doing too much, and a really good flash from Yukino saves this.
I was going to ask, was the minions the one that actually killed Niles there? Yeah. I thought it was maybe the bubble. So the flash did block the bubble. It had its original intent, but there were some other little tiny little, you know, I don't know what, like little torch wielding things that had a little other thing to say about it. And big lead for Faisal to start this game off. We've been talking about him throughout this entire year as being a very talented and very impressive top lane prospect, already getting a lead up against somebody who we know has been so dominant in both the collegiate and amateur space.
I'm really a fan of this for Faisal, and the way that we're seeing EGP play out these games, as Doxa may well land that bubble through the wall on Niles.
Oh, you got it! That's the snipe. The sleep's going to come through. Yukino biding as much time as possible. Niles can't hop away with the steadfast presence, and it's going to be all doom and gloom for him. His second death of the game, and Yukino picks up kill number 2 himself.
And I don't think that Doxa's going to miss anything in this mid lane either. Should be more than capable to get back into that mid lane, collect the wave that's been shoved into him by APA. Granted, APA gets a free reset, and that may offset slightly the disparity that he was finding in that mid lane, but with 3 assists now on Doxa, he's going to get his own fair share of experience. On top of that, he'll be able to push in this next wave too if they feel like it, but Maryville playing toward this bot side, they opt into the Dragon Take, which is not going to be contested in any realm. And so far, it is a topside kingdom for EGP. 3 kills to 0. The bot lane's largely unimpacted by anything. Mia has the Vampiric Scepter versus a Pickaxe and Longsword. A 3 CS deficit on the bot lane is nothing to write home about by either side. So, to all intents and purposes, EGP coming out very strong in this early game.
Which is, not really what we were expecting when we were talking about the pregame. I know we were earlier referring, Rude, about how, at the end of the day, we'll figure out who's the smartest caster out of the 2 of us. But right now, maybe when we're talking about how we were expecting this game to play out, maybe neither of us are, in the right spot. EGP, again, with that big late game scaling that they had in their series against DK Crew versus Maryville, who really got ahead early in their last matchup. So we were expecting different things, but right now that bodes very well for EGP, especially due to the composition that they have set up for themselves.
As they get later into the game, all of their champions scale incredibly well. For Mia, for Doxa, for Faisal as well on this top side, all going to be doing a lot of damage later on. And I like this look, like I was about to mention, for EGP, and for Faisal in particular, spent the majority of spring being very weak-sided. They were playing a large portion toward their bot lane at the time. Sketch was a real focal point for that previous EGP roster. But Faisal getting a few more resources from his team, and this time a bit more attention from Maryville. 3 people here to give him the Niles treatment.
We saw this back in 2020 with Niles and Iconic up in the top side, but a nice usage of all the wave clear from Faisal will mean that he has the opportunity to try and turn this 1v3. There comes the Heartbreaker forward, but Iconic will die on the trade, and now here comes Dox. The Sleepy Trouble Bubble does connect. Here comes the Everfrost as well, not going to land the root, but Dox is going to continue the aggression. He will try to flash forward as well, the Tomb, only to delay the inevitable, it seems, as APA will go down once more. Doxa having a great game so far.
Bot lane don't find anything from Maryville either. A bit of an all-in there with Azog's level 6. They don't find the kill with the Halo Plate and the Ignite from Zyko. But a great play on that top side, a great turnaround. Like you mentioned, Faisal uses the wave clear and just shreds that wave before Maryville really get there. It is a close run thing and maybe one turret shot taken before the whole play was began. But EGP able to turn it around with a good roam from Doxa. Jump in the bot lane, but I don't think there's going to be anything from this. Mia, with the dash out to safety, is never really feeling too threatened. Those cooldowns largely match the Zeri E with the Tristana W, provided Azog can't get the reset. So if you're just trading those cooldowns on repeat, never really going to find something too favorable.
It seems like at this point, though, Maryville kind of have to do that because they're losing up top lane, whether it's EGP that are going for the play or Maryville going for the play in this instance. Watch the double barrel into the Cannon Barrage combo for Faisal here, Rude. Getting rid of the wave before anybody has anything to say about it.
Yeah, and it's actually really smart that they try and allow the tanking of the ranged member, but the wave play means that they take one extra turret shot than they were planning on, and then we do see, obviously, a falling Iconic does go down and not really in a great position. Worth noting as well, something that I want to keep track of, we talked about Dox's summoner spell choice. He'd gone for the teleport, had spell booked over to the cleanse. That's now been used.
So now we're not going to see it for like a while.
Yeah,
it's going to be like, okay, so now APA can safely say, okay, Doxa doesn't have any cleanse. Because before you could be like, oh, I don't know, he has spellbook, but it's going to take at least a couple more over those rotations.
The issue is he does still have flash. If you see APA claw towards you, you're kind of like, huh, I'm probably just going to flash away from this to begin with, and you have to start burning different cooldowns and stopwatch as well available for Doxa. There are still tools for this Zoe in the mid lane to really start mounting leads and evading ganks as well, stopping things going too awry. So we need to see if we see Maryville try and focus any more on that mid lane, or if they're going to go back to their more staple of try and get Azog further in the lead, try and start Azog snowballing and move this Tristana into a beneficial spot.
I would, be inclined to agree with you there in terms of that being the better idea. Of course, Maryville also having that one dragon advantage, so can try to look to at least push for a soul win condition as well. But actually, it's EGP maybe looking to try and secure vision around this major objective. Iconic still not in the area of his bot side, doesn't have any camps to clear down there either. So it's kind of in a tough spot right now with not really wanting to go top and with everybody on EGP already bot side.
I've of course already seen that Herald taken by Yukino off the back of one of those plays in the top lane, so we're waiting to see where EGP look to expend that one. Niles goes for an all-in. Not too sure how easily this one will come by. Faisal with Phase Rush, or not even with Phase Rush, but with the Trial by Fire.
Yeah.
Gets away quite easily.
It was the all-in combo from Niles that got Faisal to about 60% HP, but it does set up the dive to come through. Cannon Barrage coming out, but the wave will be intact for at least a little bit longer. Here comes the teleport. It will be Doxa. Will the bubble connect once again over the wall? The answer is no. So it looks like that teleport will be all that Maryville need to stave off from the dive.
Need to be careful, Doxa, moving back through your jungle. Iconic and APA are looking for this one. Good scouting. Nicely done there. You can use Portal Jump to give vision in to brushes as well. And the big commit on the top side by Maryville means that Yukino finishes off his red buff, moves his way down to the spot side.
They need this kill right now. Faisal's going to pop that orange and finally will go down. APA not in threat of lethal just yet. But on the bot side, the trade can be made by EGP. The Berserk lands in onto 2. The teleport from Niles will be in to try and follow. Dawnbray gets bailed out, but only for a couple of seconds longer. While Doxa is trying to fight the 1v2, gets one, and now Iconic is the lone survivor. Paddlestar will get blocked by the minions. He's in the hollowed mist right now. Can he try to find an escape? The ward will spot him out. The Paddlestar goes wide. And now Iconic might be able to survive. Meanwhile, Maryville looking to make a trade onto the bot side with Niles utilizing that TP. Mia trying to kite her way out, but won't be able to find that escape. Doxa finally kills Iconic. And
action everywhere,
what happened? I was trying to have a nice little wrap up there, but I don't really know what happened.
No, there was a lot of kills. Largely, that was very good for Maryville. Outside of that bot lane play, not quite going their way. Now, Yukino may look to turn the tides.
Very quick little Poppy here. Pops that already, coming out with the Keeper's Verdict as well, but actually taking a big chunk of damage in response. Niles is raining in the boomerangs and is going to force a flash out of the Poppy.
Yeah, Minino does do % health damage. It's worth noting you can't just ignore it as this Poppy, and Niles forces the flash out of Yukino. Get the summon heal from Zyko. We do get to see some of the very, albeit limited Poppy mechanics as well. As Faisal tries to clear out that wave, but not quite able to do so. Use the orange on 1cc. There's a second one to follow up. APA has the health pool to get away with that. And this is that continuation of the play down in the top side. So Bubble blocked to stop the TP from getting stopped itself. And
Watch the
Doctor
fancy
just
feet.
taking this.
Watch
Yeah,
the fancy
spell,
feet.
but
Flash, heal, all the little thingies kind of going to her APA. Just he's so fast. Just like
Spellfeath, quite literally, Thievery at its finest. And then there's one more bubble that lands here.
it's not this one.
No, that's
There we
that's
go.
a cue that goes wide.
Okay, they're all sort of bubbles, right? I don't know. It's a kill.
You can't say bubble for the paddle star, that's for sure.
Well, here's another bubble. I can do whatever I want here. Rude Drowsy going to land in here on the Psycho, and it's a quick, easy pick for EGP.
Yeah, and this is this was what I was alluding to when I said EGP don't really want fights. They also just want skirmishes or short order trades.
It just doesn't stop, does it? There's the handshake. Azog doesn't have that rocket jump and just will go down again. EGP winning top lane, mid lane, bot lane, right now everywhere.
Turret's hurt, man. Mia took 2 turret shots there and had Immortal Shield Bow popped as well. That was... maybe she was a little bit lower on health before going into it, but that was a lot of damage. They do get the kill. Azog ultimately falling and losing out on a wave on that top side, but for EGP, they haven't necessarily played a lot toward their bot lane, but they did put a lot of gold into Mia and Dombre before they left that bot side. First turret does ultimately go to Faisal because of all the plates that got taken down with the Rift Herald to start off with, and the defense of that tier 1 turret down in the bot lane that was made by Maryville, sort of leaving the bot lane tier 1 turret up in the long order to allow Faisal to take it down and set up again, a GP who is now 6 minions away from a call being completed. Trinity Force already online with those tier 2 boots as well. Looking very, very strong on this Gangplank, a pick that we saw traded away, or rather traded into the Gnar. They were quite happy to take this 1-for-1 into the Gnar blind, and so far it's coming up trumps.
Yeah, and Faisal had some really great performances on this Gangplank last split as well. As well as this split, has gotten it banned at least a fair amount against him in both the open qualifiers and I think sometimes in their match last week as well. And you can see right now that it is all EGP, and actually all EGP on the top side of the map, which again is that kind of win condition that they were trying to go for in a lot of their games.
Trade of Herald for turrets. Maryville do put a little bit of indexing gold on to the Tristana now, who has completed that Kraken Slayer, is working slowly towards the Berserker boots and a potential Zeal item as well. If we do see that Phantom Dancer come through, we're expecting a Zeal item here because of that second dagger. It's really good single target DPS. It's incredibly efficient at taking down, for example, Yukino taking down any frontliner that is really difficult to try and cut through. And those two longswords do lead you down that Phantom Dancer style of belief. And you know, we talked about the late game scaling aspect of EGP. They've got this Zoe GP Zeri shredding damage force. But Tristana as well, as mentioned in the draft, longest base range of any ADC at level 18. Can be a very lethal threat if you get to that late stages with the hypercarry source.
Does that include like the Zeri like Q?
Well, that's lethal tempo as well. Is when those things start getting.
But I've seen that go like 3 screens away. We're talking about all the range, like that. That's also a factor, I feel like.
It is. You know what, Grapes? It is something. It is worth mentioning that both
we should do the math on that.
I don't want to do the math on that. Never do math on stream.
You're the color commentator. That's your job. I'm going to pretend that I can't do that. Anyway, Herald popped down bottom. Faisal getting even more gold into his back pocket, and now EG continuing to look for picks. APA is going to get stunned to the wall. The Paddle Star doing so much damage, and this might be a bit of a desperation play. Frozen Tomb locked in. EGP have to now try to run for the hills. Doxa has to use the flash stolen away from him. Huge Berserk coming out from Dombre. The bailout's coming through. Does Doxa get a kill? He does not, as Zyko is now starting to come through, and now Iconic can continue the chase. That's a really nice use of the Stead presence, but Maryville do get a crucial pick right there. The response, though, will be Mia taking this top lane tower.
850 gold went over to Zyko, maybe the single worst member to receive the shutdown of the Zoe bounty.
Hey, don't
but
tell
a kill
Zyko
is a
that.
kill. Don't tell
He's
Zyko
happy.
that.
He's like, he's definitely, look, he got boots.
I finished my Shirelias and tier 2s. I'm fair as hell, boy. I'm ready to go.
I'm so, you know, like that meme where Bjergsen is like, he like says like, I'm so freaking strong right now. Like he's just like him saying that like over and over again.
Yeah, but it's
like,
Zyko and it's you support Lulu, and then everyone just looks at you like, great, that's cool. I'm not. I'm gonna be the one, you know, actually feeling damage. So we'll see how well this Shirelia's movement speed gets put to use. How frequently the cooldowns are available with those tier 2 Lucidity boots being completed, but. You know, like we say, gold goes into ultimately the wrong spot where EGP do trade gold on to Mia. So overall, not the worst case situation for EGP. They do, however, lose out on this tier 1 turret in the top lane at a cost of putting a stop to the Drake stacking that Maryville went for early on.
Doesn't look like EGP want to start it up just yet, though. Of course, Maryville trying to get priority in that mid lane, so it'll force the Prodigies to try and respond. And now we're seeing a very classic Maryville maneuver. Stack 5 people up in a side lane in response to maybe an objective being taken. Faisal knows better than to try and contest this wave super heavily. So it just means everyone's going to back off for now, but might see some fireworks soon with the Drake still available.
But what if they do Faisal again? How about that one with
well,
5
we'll
people?
See. they could, but it looks like EG actually with Faisal is going to go for an aggressive play. Iconic will get exhausted. Big sleep landing into Zyko. 3-man knockup from Yukino. The hostile takeover will lock down a lot of the members of Maryville. APA in a really bad spot. The Frozen Tomb only delaying a potential death going into him as Faisal picks up the first kill of the fight. Everybody else on Maryville is so low and will have to run for the hills unless now there's something to say about it. It's a big Gnar, but he'll now have to flash away. A lot of fireworks, not a whole lot of kills going in for Maryville in this engage. Doxa still alive, although at 25% HP and can still provide a lot of poke. Here comes the bubble. Not going to connect, but the Battle Star will! Is that a bubble, Rude? Are we still on this? Is it not a bubble?
That was a paddle star, but Azok got popped like a bubble right there. That was...
Yes.
That was
that's what
clean.
I was
Nicely done.
Very nice.
Web's the needle. Thread's the needle is the words I was supposed to be going for. They get the Drake, they get 2 kills, they get mid-tier 1 turret, and all of a sudden EGP have broken open this game. It was a bit of a trade back and forth for the majority of the situations prior to this, but all of a sudden inside just one single motion, really, everything starts to go EGP's way. They take the first dragon, they take themselves, like we say, a load of kills to boot, and now they get a full reset. All 5 members going back to base at the same time so they can be out on the map as a strong force as possible. This gold lead is at 5k. It's not been at 5k period this game. Woo! But this is as strong, this is as different as the gold will be. Effective gold as well, because EGP have spent all of their gold and they immediately are going to look to try and make the most of it. Up toward the Baron, be it to take it, be it to at least assert some vision. This is as good as it gets.
Do you see the Doxa there? That damage?
You know what? I said I don't do math, but what I did know was that was a lot more damage than anyone that
big number,
did.
Yeah, versus small number. That's all the math you need to kind of determine how that fight ended up, as Maryville looking to try and find picks. Again, Baron is up, and so Doxa is going to have to try to, again, utilize some fancy footwork here, getting away from that Everfrost, but that's the ult button that you need. No cleanse, remember, Rude. That's another kill into Maryville.
I'm gonna be real, I don't know that cleanse saves Doxa there, but it would have certainly made it a lot prettier. It would have certainly given him a better chance. As Maryville now with this pick...
I've seen some crazy stuff out of Doxa, you know?
I have also seen crazy things. There's a world where Maryville try and take this Baron. They're going to instead just default back to trying to assert some vision instead. They did take away a very large chunk of gold of the EGP squad, but APA could be a little
APA, he's a bit caught out as well. Here comes that Everfrost to try and zone somebody out. But it will be Dawnbray securing the kill. APA just continuing to try to find engages and falling just short every time.
Zhonya is not used. Ultimate was, of course, not available. I don't mind that by APA. Recognizes his misstep and saves the cooldowns for a later fight with teleport available if we do see a fight within the next 20 seconds or post that. In fact, when he respawns it, we'll be able to join. Of course, we're post 14 minutes now, long gone past 14 minutes, and we're more than capable of seeing those unleashed teleports move to anywhere on the Rift. Red buff taken away by Niles, nice and sneaky under the nose of Doxa as he shows his face a little bit to clear some Raptors.
I was gonna say something about like Doxa being just taking all the jungle camps away from Yukino because like he's the real carry now, but Yukino having a very sneaky good game here, Rudu. 3-0 and 5, having 2 of those items already completed. You know, it's the 1-for-1 trade. You give over. Oh, okay, never mind.
No. You take our camps, I'll take their camps, right? That's
well,
mentality.
that's what I was going to say, but now it's just Azog stealing away Iconic's camp, which is another robbery here. But whoa, what? Okay, I don't know if Yukino needs any more camps right there. That was a lot of damage. Zyko getting just absolutely bursted right there.
I mean, that's the 850 gold value right there.
Yeah, you know, maybe kept him alive a little bit longer here. Cannon Barrage going to come out. APA with a double stopwatch, I believe, to keep himself invulnerable. Here comes the dive, though. The turret still alive and still doing a whole lot of damage, and that could be the turn that Maryville needed. The kill goes in favor against Doxa. Now Maryville with Iconic here trying to throw out these bubbles. Not going to be able to find any sort of pick, but you can see Maryville trying to stay up in this game, and maybe EGP trying to bite off a bit more than they can chew.
And once again, it's one of these plays where Mia is actually just a little bit behind the team. Could not be caught out. Azog actually shows potentially a second or two early there.
Oh,
but
man.
it's EGP not all being on the same wave. Now
Okay.
Maryville with no mid laner. This time they go for the Baron.
Again, Doxa spawning about 15 seconds. Mia and Faisal have a whole lot of damage to try and slow
Lightning
this
Rush
down,
is
but
available.
Yukino not in range for a smite just yet. I think this Baron is just gone, Rude. It's going to go down in favor of Iconic. The desperate steal from Mia was not enough, and now Maryville going to have to try to get away. APA might just be a bit of a sacrifice as Mia will get another kill. But very good trade for Maryville. They get the Baron, and they're back in this game.
A very good trade, as mentioned. Get one pick onto Doxa. They don't go for the Baron. They get a second pick, and they think, okay, this time we're not going to waste the opportunity. They slide in and pick up the objective. I think that given the state of the game, given that there's still a massive gold lead to EGP, this is more of a preventative Baron, more so than anything else. We'll have to see if they can make anything of it and see if they can take some potential turrets out. You can see already Niles working away on that top side. Could very well be just them trying to secure some gold in exchange for giving up a second dragon, and I would honestly love to see that from Maryville. Use this Baron as an economy Baron to generate more leads and rather shut down leads that EGP have got. Drake spawning in 10 seconds time while Niles is already battering away at this tier 2. They are going to get some objectives from this. The question really becomes how many.
This is the spot where the team fighting and the really heavy engage potential from Maryville becomes very, very important for themselves, because they're able to, you know, pressure in on a lot of these objectives, and if EGP try to respond, try to fight back, there's just so many tools for MU to try and go back with, and you can maybe see it up here on the top side. The Dragon will get secured by EGP, a nice flash away from Faisal, but the Cannon Barrage is going to come out. Azog doesn't care about that at all, as that inhibitor turret, first one of the game, mind you, has been broken open by the Saints.
And the Tristana slowly but slowly getting closer and closer to that late game Exodia that we talked about. 3 items on Tristana is really good when she's going to... I love that. When she's going to be coming online. EG, though, looking for a play.
Here comes the engage. Niles nearing that Mega Gnar form, and now with the Wild Growth on top of him, might try to look for something big. Mia getting taught out by the Spectral Maw will have to leap over the wall to safety, and it doesn't look like Maryville want to go for any sort of fight, instead focusing on those objectives that are going to get them the gold advantage.
Tier 3 turret in the top lane taken down. Tier 1 in the mid, also map control of this top side. Opened up in a big way by the Maryville University squad. Closing up that gold, about 2-3k with the timing on this Baron. And it gives them a lot of control. Next Baron that comes through as well. With those turrets being taken down, it makes it very easy to move it in, establish those vision lines, make sure that you are familiar with where EG are moving in that top side jungle. The way that the game has panned out, Grapes, we've seen 2 teams take 2 dragons, so the Infernal Soul win condition not particularly abundant across either side. So we're going to be waiting a fair while for that one, and likelihood is we see the Baron be the real contention point for these 2 teams, and you know we're still in the remit of Nat Maryville's first Baron to see.
There's one more wave. I mean, Faisal and Mia have a lot of wave clear, and so it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get much out of it, but it does pressure a lot of EGP into this mid lane, which means the split pushes can continue by Iconic and the like. The rest of the Saints have joined him in terms of taking down this second tier 2 turret. The barrels do a lot of damage, but not landing on any crucial targets just yet. But EGP looking for the engage. Dox's bubble gets cleansed away by APA. But it looks like the Prodigies are still looking to fight. They want to dance. They're going to try to stun up Azog here. The Poly will land in onto the Poppy, but another bubble onto APA. Not enough damage just yet as the Frozen Tomb has been used defensively. Now it's EGP looking to push the aggression. Can Maryville try to turn this fight around? APA gets rooted, still has the wild growth on top, but watch Niles with the big stun, but there he goes yeeted away from the rest of his team, and now Mia has been unlocked, has the lightning rush on his hands, and now looking to try to go for the kill. There comes the W. Mia picks up a kill onto Zyko, and now Azog has to run away. Niles TPing to just try to escape, but Mia, she's not done. She continues to try and look for picks, try to hunt down the rest of Maryville University. It'll just be that one kill, but what an explosive fight that was.
Very close, and we do get to see some of those tools that we talked about for EGP, those long-range engagements that they're going to be looking for. We use the bubble to set up for one, the hostile takeover as well does another, and they're not done yet. They take a pick and they want to try and make the most of it. APA can clear this
they're
wave.
Still looking. APA can get stunned up here, not landing into the wall, but the Drowsy does land. Boom goes Azog. He will go down to Doxa, and now APA doesn't really have a whole lot of escape tools remaining. Inhibitor tower destroyed in the bot lane. Keep your eye on Niles though, continuing the split push. Maryville are going to have to try and stall EGP in their own base to try and get the response coming out. Iconic now looking to try and continue the chase down here. Niles still hitting away. Here comes EPA. They could go for the back door. Oh my goodness, can this happen here? The backs aren't going to be able to be channeled. Yukino is not spawning for another 15 seconds. There's no TPs to be used just yet as the rest of Maryville is trying to hunt him down. The polymorph comes out, and that just might be the game-winning W. In comes Doxa. Going to have to try to fight this in the 1v2, but the Nexus is exposed, and Doxa goes down. The diff goes to Maryville, and somehow, someway, down in gold, down in kills. They're going to take game one of the best of 3.
Maryville start off their series with a bang. They, like you say, down the entire game here, but come out with the win. A backdoor from the Niles APA duo solo lane squad. Something that EGP clearly not factoring in, not ready for, and it costs them their unwillingness to check Niles in the top lane. You mentioned he TP'd out at the end of the fight that happened down there, that was started by EGP chasing them down. He TP'd into that top lane and simply never left.
Didn't leave until for the rest of the game, basically. Just continued to hit away, throw the boomerangs out, and that was all that they could do. Really nice job by Maryville, who were able to use a lot of their macro play with that, getting that Baron, and then having a whole lot of pressure. The extended play all the way from the bottom lane inhibitor for EGP to the top bottom lane inhibitor for Maryville, which resulted in the eventual end of the game, which I was not expecting whatsoever.
A full experience across Summoner's Rift, that is for sure. We got to see every inch of it right there between all of the players. Niles coming from his top tier 2, I believe, to go for it, and then all the way around through the bot lane as well for EGP. A truly chaotic game, and we can only hope for more.
I think we're going to see more. I mean, that game was very EGP-centered the entire way through, and then Maryville just won. So I'm sure that they're not going to be very happy about that. They're going to want to come back with a vengeance, fight back, send us to that game 3, send themselves into the top 8. But that's it for us here on the caster desk for game number 1. We are going to take a break, catch ourselves up, get ready for game number 2. You should do the same. We'll see you in a bit.